Hello and welcome to Story X Story, the podcast by mayamada that dives deep into stories across pop culture, plus gives you advice on creating your own. It's episode 189. I'm recording in my own country, and I'm your co-host, Nigel.
I am Tazziii, content creator and co-host.
And as always, we're bringing you interesting discussions with diverse voices. And to help us out today, as we pick apart corporate synergy from meaningful narrative, is Vic Deluca of Mega City Comics and Gutter Lizard. Vic, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me over, guys.
Yeah, good to have you. And you were last with us for our discussion on Superman for all seasons. That was this year, right?
Yeah, I was actually.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That feels like 4 seasons ago.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why. It was like literally all those 4 seasons ago. But no, it was in 2024. So we'll have a link to that. You can check out that discussion we did for our story club. And we've got the audio of that on the podcast main feed. You can subscribe to Story X Story wherever you get your podcasts from, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And you can also send us your feedback and questions in a variety of ways. You can send us a voice message on our Spotify for Podcasters page. You can email us at studio77@mayamada.com, or you can throw your thoughts at us on social media. We are at mayamada on Twitter, at mayamada TV on Instagram and TikTok, or Life of a W Gamer on Instagram and TikTok, or Tazziii on Twitter. You can also join the Studio 77 Discord to be part of the mayamada community and consider becoming a Studio 77 member to support the work that we do at mayamada and get exclusive access to stuff that we are working on. And we've got a comic I'm going to speak about in just a moment. And that moment is now, because before we get to today's discussions, let's update you with the latest from the mayamada universe. We are making progress on this comic. So we started the process of making the artwork, and we're going to have stuff to show for our Kickstarter backers for the Origins Against All Odds comic that we've been working on for a lot of the year. We kickstarted it earlier in the year. Then the year happened and we're still working on it, but it is in a good place. We had a good meeting with Penali, our illustrator, and a lot of the young people who have contributed to the story, the artwork in some way. So looking forward to actually sharing that with people. So Kickstarter backers and our community on Discord will see that, and then we'll put stuff on social media as well. So this is the Origins manga, which features Tazzii's character in the mayamada universe. And it's going to be a reflective, hope-filled manga about pursuing your creative career goals in the face of resistance from doubters and the world around you. So Kickstarter backers, so you will be getting their copies. We'll have pre-orders on the website as well, and then we'll be bringing it to events coming up in the year and as we go into next. You can also check out the website for the current titles that we have from the world's first manga network. So we've got our stories from Samurai Chef to the latest one, Serious Through the Fog. They're all ages stories set within our shared universe. We've also got a lot to come for the Do I Look Like a Gamer campaign. So this is our campaign that works to promote diversity and inclusion in the video games industry, as well as showcasing pathways into games for young and aspiring talent. So it's a yearly initiative, which means each year we do a new snapshot of 40 players and makers in a bid to showcase representation where it does exist, as a way to inspire more of it among future generations of diverse talent. And then it also means a new schedule of events and activities. So we've done a bunch of things so far. So we've been to Comic-Con once, done Barclays Game Frenzy, we've done our own events. So we've got the Games Industry Explained that we had at King, we've got the Cupcake and Gamepad Social that we had at Samsung KX. Coming up, we have our first appearance at the Festival of the Girl. This is October 5th and 6th, so it's a weekend event. And we'll be bringing our manga, as well as a Do I Look Like a Gamer campaign, to the Islington Business Design Centre. So it's an event aimed at reaching young girls aged 7 to 11 and engaging them in different industries, different cultures, different potential career paths as well. So we'll be doing the games representation thing as we also do the representation in games thing. That makes sense if you think about it. So yeah, just showcasing like the campaign and getting people involved and letting them know that they can be involved in the video games industry and culture as well. And then we'll be at Comic-Con later in October. So essentially doing what we did before, coming, showcasing the campaign over all 3 days. We'll have more of those plans as we firm them up, but we've got the campaign showcase, we've got games, we've got tabletop games and different activities going on over that weekend, which is October the 25th to the 27th, so Friday to Sunday. And then we are working on plans for our Friends and Family Game Design Jam. It's had to move around a little bit, but we've pinned down a venue and we're working out the date. So stay tuned for an update on that. But that's another campaign event that we organize as a one-day event to introduce young and aspiring game developers to the concept of game design. So the idea is people come as a group, or if you come as an individual, we can group you up with people. So friends, family, strangers, welcome. We'll encourage you to work together and then making a tabletop game that in theory should be playable by the. I think we've always had people like make something playable. It's a whole day, so you've got time. So we've got announcements for that and more to come for the campaign, as we also have plans for the very end of the year as well. So stay tuned for that. And we like to thank Rocksteady Studios for their sponsorship of the campaign for another year. So their support has been vital for us to bring this vision to life and help us highlight the diverse roles that exist in gaming and get the message out and get people involved. So appreciate their commitment in allowing us to inspire young people from underrepresented groups and drive that progress in the games industry. So look forward to continue working with them and others like them as we go for a more diverse future in video games. We have a bunch of activities planned for our Studio 77 platform, which is our digital platform, where we host a bunch of shows on Twitch, speaking to creative professionals from different industries, as well as playing games for your amusement. So we speak to people across comics, video games, animation. So each month we have different shows. We have the Studio 77 report, where Tazziii and I recap the latest mayamada announcements and event news in a live recording on Twitch, and then we have the edited version that goes up on YouTube. We have casual conversations with comic creators. So every month I speak to a different comic creator about the craft of making comics and just about the individual, the person, the human as well. Usually on the first Tuesday of each month, but for September, it's actually on the first Wednesday. So if you're listening to this, we've done it already and you can catch the VOD. And then we'll be putting up highlights from various conversations that I've had on YouTube as well. And then games night, also usually towards the end of the month, we play a different game with our community. And again, that goes up on VOD. And then we've got some highlights from past games nights on YouTube. We've actually got a bunch of highlights we need to put up. So that's going to be at some point, there'll be like a dump of highlights of us playing games. So we've got some catching up to do there. But you can always join us live for those shows as well. Just follow us on Twitch. And if you are a young and aspiring creative professional or you know one, then check out the mayamada Showrunners Work Experience Program. We are creating opportunities for young people aged 16 and up to work with our team across comic production, events, and content creation. And as I mentioned, we had a recent call where some of the people who have worked through the program, currently previous years as well, were inputting on the stories. So it's a good opportunity to like have a real input and also network. We've got some opportunities coming up for people networking with some animation studios as well. So yeah, there's all opportunities. And Comic-Con, we took a bunch of people to Comic-Con. So you can email us, showrunners@mayamada.com, to find out more. So now you are all caught up with the mayamada universe. Let's talk about some of the stories that we've been enjoying this week.
This is a chance for us to have a spoiler-free discussion of what everyone has been reading, watching, or playing. So we'll start with our guest Vic. What's been on your list recently?
Okay, so usually I like to do all three, right? I just give like one to play, one to watch, and one to read. But I think like I didn't want to extend too far because the two things that I'm playing and reading is probably gonna take enough time. So I've been playing Black Myth Wukong, like many people have so far. Many people. And I'm absolutely loving this game. It's just a breath of fresh air to see some different mythologies, displayed. We obviously, get a lot of, some of the Western stuff, and we got a lot of Japanese stuff in the past decade, which is all, fantastic. But I just feel like there was a kind of like a huge lack of Chinese mythologies, of Taoism, and this really does scratches the itch. Some of the visual designs, some of the sutras, and the music, it really does immerse you in this like really ancient and really different looking world. What's amazing, I really appreciate it, any video game that has a bestiary, like just give me a bestiary in every single game. I don't want to just kill something, I also want you to tell me every single thing about that thing that I just killed. This goes actually further than that. The bestiary is actually anecdotes, like old Chinese anecdotes. So you defeat, this wolf creature, and then you open your menu, and then this story that is usually an allegory or some sort of teaching is just told to you. And some of it is fairly cryptic, it's for you to elaborate. Some of it will actually give you a Taoist teaching at the end, which I think it's incredible.
Is this like an audio thing, or there's a cutscene?
It's so you know how in games when you defeat an enemy you get like an entry in your menu? Yeah, so you basically get a little bit of like a parchment you get to read. So it's like a wall of text that you get and you can read, In my evenings it's just been go in an area, kill a bunch of dudes, prepare food, and learn about Chinese mythology. It's been incredible. I mean, I've read The Journey to the West in graphic novel form, and obviously,
and that's what it's based. That's what the game is based on.
Exactly.
That's the mythology. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I assume that all the listeners already know about this game. But yeah, based on The Journey to the West, based on the legends of the Monkey King, which people might definitely know of it from, Dragon Ball took, that legend and made Son Goku out of the figure of the Monkey King. And it's just incredible. It's uniting two things that I love, like absolutely, and it would be just learning new philosophies, new ways of thinking, and badass monkey just hitting dragons. Like it just hits the spot, So yeah, that's what I've been playing. In terms, what I'm reading a post-World War II manga called Igazuri. I don't know if you guys heard about it. That's actually what the translator is a bit mad about, which I completely understand. So this is a translated book from an historian called Ryan Holberg, and he's quite famous in the field. He's translated quite a few post-war stuff, a few things from Garo, the Marxist horror magazine, and sort of like alternative avant-garde horror magazine. And these books are incredible in the sense that you don't just get to read the translated, work. You also get about 50% of an essay right at the back. And these essays are extensive, well-informed. They really sort of contextualized what you've just read. And Igazuri itself, it's about judo. Now, for those who don't know, judo is huge in Japan. And when it was introduced as a sort of like national sport around the 1920s, it was seen as more like a way of life. So, not just a sport. In fact, the creator actually had some hesitations about having it in the Olympics because he did not want to see judo only as a sport. And yeah, I completely highly recommend it. This is from Fukui Eiichi, which not very many people would know about because he's an author that, like many of Tezuka's peers, he was overshadowed by, the big Tezuka shadow, But it was one of his peers. He was working with him, laughing and drinking with him, sharing hotel rooms to meet deadlines. And he's the reason on a lot of the type of shonen manga that we have today. If you watch things like Demon Slayer, and you see Tanjiro. Tanjiro is a good boy. He likes to, just kind of do the right thing all the time. Yeah. This is not very much something that Tezuka was about. Tezuka was more of a progressive individual, was someone that was heavily influenced by occupational, by American influence, by Disney, by Karl Barks and the Ducks. And he was definitely more on a zany sort of like cinema train, So yeah, Igaguri. Unfortunately, this is a American only publication, but it can be bought at Gosh. So if you're in London, you can buy a Gosh. I'm advertising them. You're welcome, Andrew. That's completely fine. And it can also be bought if you're not in the UK. It can be bought online from Ryan Holberg's own website. So Igaguri, really, really enjoyed it. I've been thinking about it nonstop. So there you go. That's what I've been doing.
They both sound really awesome. So it's me next, I guess.
Yeah, tell us.
So I watched a film the other night called Good Luck to You, Leo Grande. Leo Grande? Leo I don't know. I think it's Leo Grande. I might have just... Yeah, it's definitely Leo Grande. Anyway.
Put some accent on that.
Yeah, I just added an accent. There's not an accent on it. Yeah, so it's about an older woman, an older widowed woman who hires a young, handsome Irish male escort to explore.
Right. Let's
see where this is going.
Let's be short about this one, Tazziii.
But it's a very, very wholesome, because she's really traditional and hasn't she's like done it how you're supposed to, like quote unquote supposed to, like got married, had kids, was a teacher, and then became a widow and was like, oh, my life's a bit dull, and hasn't really like explored a lot of things. And then you've got Leo Grande, who's this like young, charismatic guy, and they kind of both teach each other a lot of things. Like he's gone through a lot of trauma, and you kind of unfold it as you go along, and they kind of like teach each other how to grow. And it's really like wholesome and beautiful. I didn't know what to expect going into it, but yeah, it's very wholesome and beautiful. And I've been continuing watching Futurama. Interestingly enough, I've got to series 5, and I do not like series 5. And this is a point where I believe they switched like who had the rights or whatever. And I thought I'd like reached the season where it becomes owned by Disney because there is just joke on joke about being acquired.
Because they got cancelled and then picked up by someone else. And I think season 11 is the one where it's on Disney, and then you got jokes on on that. Yeah.
So I thought it completely switched up. Like the formatting is changed. There's a lot of like longer, like 3-episode arcs. Like they're a lot longer and less like contained. And it makes it so like, because Futurama is fun because you just pick up an episode like that. Any kind of comedy of that vein, you're like, there might be 1 or 2 that like go over a couple of episodes, but most storylines are contained in 1 episode. And this is like the whole season is just constant continuations. And I'm like, this is not fun. And yeah, the start of it is just talking about being acquired.
I do not remember
like 2 episodes on like this whole like, yeah. I'm like, what is this? So I'm not enjoying season 5.
Growing up was definitely maybe one of my favorite shows to watch, but I don't quite, I was kind of young to remember like seasons. I was like, oh, for sure, it's back on.
I don't remember like any of these episodes. I feel like they were just not the ones that we watched.
Right.
And then I've been playing Core Keeper because it recently got added to Game Pass, and I've had Game Pass this month. And yeah, it's like a fun game. It's like a dungeon exploration cross between like Terraria and I don't know what else. But it's fun. It's like, I don't know, I feel like I should be playing it with other people though. But yeah, it's got a lot of like fun crafting and farming and exploring and enemies and all that fun stuff. I'm surprised I haven't got bored of it yet, which means that I feel like it's a good version of those type of games. And then today I've been playing the Black Ops 6 beta, which I'm not sure on yet because they have added Omni movement and it is confusing.
Oh yeah, I saw that in the showcase. So like you can lay on the ground and you move in different directions.
It's like cool, but I'm like, I just want to run and gun.
Wait a minute. So what does that entail? You can
So you can run backwards while shooting, like while facing forwards and shooting. You can run sideways. You can like slide and shoot, but not this, but like move. I don't know how to. Am I explaining it correctly?
I think I know what you mean. Like it's like some other games, but not Black Ops historically.
Yeah. So it's still I'm figuring it out. So I'm very unsure about the Omni movement because I'm still figuring it out. It's kind of hard with a joystick. I feel like my joystick is going to get destroyed from Omni movement. But I don't know. It seems okay. It's not. I'm not completely against it yet. I'm just getting used to the Omni movement. We'll see. It might be a case of that I play multiplayer on Modern Warfare 3 and zombies on Black Ops 6 when it comes out. But Nigel, what have you been enjoying or not enjoying? You don't have to have enjoyed them.
Mine are definitely enjoying. So Fallout is the first one I want to mention because I finished the first and only season of this, and yeah, it's really good. I heard about it before. Heard it say it was very good, and that it is very good. So what's interesting about this is I still can't remember if I played a Fallout game or not. I know I played the one that was on mobile. I know I got at least that, which is weird because it is my type of game. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation. So I came into this kind of new-ish. So I know of like some of the lore, but haven't like connected everything together. So fairly new. And I really like how they formatted the episode. So it's very, I'd say slow, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Just it takes its time to. I think I mentioned this the first time I brought this up. Like establish like this character here. So the main character is Lucy, a vault dweller, if that's the term. I don't know if that's like politically correct in that in that world, but a vault dweller because that sounds kind of pejorative in a bit. Yeah, so she's in the vault. This is like a post-apocalyptic alternate future United States. I think specifically California / Los Angeles. And her dad's been taken away. She goes after her dad. Along the way, she meets different characters in this world. So you've got a ghoul who's played by Walton Goggins, who does an amazing job. He actually plays like two characters technically. He's
I want to be the
fantastic.
ghoul. I definitely hope for total atomic annihilation so I can be him.
I'm with you on that. He's a very cool character.
Yeah.
But then you also meet the Brotherhood of Steel, and in particular, Squire, their Maximus. He's such an interesting character, and the actor that plays him, his facial expressions just get me. It's so like I don't know, like someone's spat in your ice cream or something. He's got that like that kind of expression all the way through, but purposefully because it fits the character. Yeah, and it's just about the journey. You know what? This is really a show I feel about the journey. It is about how they get, because there is a goal at the end, but it almost isn't so much about that. It's about the journey, what you learn, what the character learns, what you learn about the world along the way, and it just all ties together. So yeah, fantastic, and just looking forward to season 2. Really, I feel that's a solid show. So enjoying that, also enjoying Zone 100. Which when I last mentioned this on the show, I'd only seen one episode. I've seen a few more now, and I'm seeing how they're expanding on the premise. I think I said before, like that first episode was just such a self-contained, got the message delivered, fantastic. But the rest of it is good. It is really that exploration of what you want to do with your life. And I really like, because I always feel when you've got zombies in a show, it's never about the zombies. It's always about something else. So I always like The Walking Dead, well, up until a point. But anyway, again, another discussion. But I was like, in the early days, you had the zombies, but it's really about like how you just go back to basics and how like you communicate with your fellow human being. And that, is that person a threat? Do I need to kill that person? And you have those kind of things running through your mind. How do you set up community and all that? And I enjoyed that. So this is about a character, Akira, who is in this not necessarily, I guess a dead end job is the way to describe it. He's not happy. He's really not happy, tied to this sort of corporate job, and which will forever be funny to me. But when the zombies arrive, rather than being a fearful thing, it frees him to do all the things that he wants. And like, yeah, it's just amazing. That just cracks me up every time. So he just goes on this journey, or he's going on this journey from what I've seen so far, where he's just like, okay, now I'm going to live my life. And he's interacting with other characters, and it's all about essentially living your life. And I really like that concept and how it's formatted, and yeah, enjoying that. And lastly, The Boys. I started watching The Boys season 4, 3, 4, whatever the latest season is.
So, have you watched Gen V?
I have not. I was told that I should have
Mm.
watched that before starting this because it kind of connects, but I completely forgot and just started The Boys. So now I'm in it. But yeah, so I think again, a couple episodes, but these are like hour-long episodes. I've always liked The Boys. I feel I was having this discussion with a friend who has maybe has different politics than I do, and felt a different way about the latest show. Felt it was a bit on the nose, and certain things didn't like how they were being portrayed, which I can kind of see there is a bit of on the noseness about the show.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I feel like narratively it's not great to be so on, because some of the things are so on the nose. But then I'm also thinking like sometimes real life is the parody. How bad can it be? But I get that criticism of it.
Yeah, I feel actually a bit the same way about it, but simply because I feel like everyone can agree that the style of parody changed, because I feel like in previous seasons they were definitely just integrating real life stuff that, like you say, was kind of absurd, but it was actually kind of close to reality.
Mm.
Well, I feel like this season they took
It's like
the
lifting.
parody, of the reality and put it in there, and so it's almost like a fourth wall breaking, you know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like,
That's fair.
yeah, it's odd. Sometimes they even say, like, as you're watching it, there are lines of dialogues which they usually they are saying something to someone as if it's like winking at the a viewer, and that conversation wouldn't actually happen in real life. So it's like it's kind of weird.
I'd say it's a bit too much. I don't mind it because it still broadly fits within the type of humor, but I get what you mean about
Sure.
the difference. It's
Yeah.
a subtle difference, but I won't disagree with you. It is a meaningful difference. It's kind of like when, I mean, it's a really random comparison, but it's kind of like when The Simpsons started and it was parodying like celebrities, and then there came a point where celebrities were in The
Yes.
Simpsons, and now that's kind of a different thing. It doesn't hit
Yeah,
the same.
exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah, still a great show.
Yeah, but there is that consideration. So, yeah, I'm making my way through that. I'll report back when I've finished that season. But it's still The Boys, so it's still very violent, very irreverent, and all those things. So yeah, those are the stories that we've been enjoying, at least for this week. We'll see how that changes in future. Now let's get to our main story discussion. Today, we're going to be talking about Deadpool and Wolverine, the 2024 comic book film featuring the Marvel Comics characters Deadpool and Wolverine. So again, does what it says on the tin. Produced by Marvel Studio, it is the 34th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The film was directed by Sean Levy. From a screenplay he wrote with Ryan Reynolds, Rhett Reese, Paul Wernick, and Zeb Wells. Reynolds and Hugh Jackman star alongside Emma Corrin, Marina Baccarin, Rob Delaney, Leslie Uggams, Aaron Stanfield, and Matthew McFadden. So, spoiler alert, we are going to now talk about spoilers in this particular show, and maybe some other Marvel connected stuff. I will do a recap of this story, but first, let's get everyone's quick takes and general impressions. Vic, we'll start with you. What did you think of this film?
I was hoping I would go last.
No, guest goes first.
Guess goes first. I really I thought about it a lot. I thought about it a lot. And the best way I can describe this is that I think that out there are amazing ingredients. And there's probably better ingredients than better chefs. And I think that this is the instance where some of the ingredients are really, really good, but the cake, it's not great. I really wished I like this more. I really do, because obviously this is some of the idea of even the making of the movie. It's about some of the movies that I grew up with and some of the superhero movies that I actually still prefer. Like Raimi's Spider-Man, X1 and 2. For me, they are the apex of the superhero movies, especially in some of the themes that they went to. X1 and 2, I feel like there was everything there's to be said. Some of the conversation that Nightcrawler has with Storm, some of the dialogues between Xavier and Magneto, that was really like, the top of what we would get. And certainly regarding X-Men, we definitely got some few fun stuff with Spider-Man, but I still feel like the core Spider-Man was pretty much summarized with Spider-Man 2. It was perfect as it was. And obviously, I don't want to be evil man yell at Cloud. I like a lot of the new movies. I loved, I was there with Endgame. I was cheering with everybody when, spoiler for Endgame, when Cap picked up the hammer. I was, I was loud in the cinema together with everyone at 12 or whatever, like 1 o'clock in the morning of that showing. So I don't come from this as someone that has any reason to dislike or has any reservation about it. And I usually come from these movies, especially big blockbusters like these, with a little bit of an expectation, especially now after, did you say 34? Right?
Yep.
34 movies. This is one instance in which it should have been an incredible home run. And obviously, financially it was, but it should have been something so cool. And so when I look at movies like this, I just feel it could have been so much better. And this was very disappointing to me. So, yeah, sorry to start it that way, but that's how I feel about Deadpool Wolverine.
Okay. Right. No, that's what you think. Tazziii, are we staying at this level? It can only go up, right?
I honestly didn't know what to expect for Deadpool Wolverine other than like the Deadpool part. I didn't know what to expect from them being together, or really know where it was going to go. Obviously, after the Wolverine movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I was approached it with quite a bit of curiosity. Also curiosity as to why we were not at the premiere.
Yeah, that's a conversation. We need to talk.
Just want to throw that one out there, since we talk about Ryan Reynolds constantly on this podcast. Like, someone needs to do a count of how many times
we bring up Ryan Reynolds, especially when we don't need to.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there are episodes where he is not in the and he still somehow comes up. I feel like more than Nigel brings up God of War, because
probably
it's like that,
we're both
but from both of it. Anyway, so curiosity. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. There was a bit of like, this is just like an origin story, but not quite an origin story, like an origin, but specifically to be in Disney's cinematic universe. It's kind of like the reboot without completely rebooting it. Yeah, it definitely felt like this film was like essentially watching the moving vans.
That's an interesting analogy. Yeah.
But then I don't think it was. I mean, it was still very much a Deadpool movie. So, with maybe a bit too much fall breaking, just a little over the top, just a tad.
All right, so interested because coming into I don't think I'd watched many trailers. You know what? I'm becoming an advocate for not watching trailers.
Join us.
I had genuine surprises in this.
You get a whole ticket worth of movie.
Yeah,
like really
pretty good time.
So
if you're planning to watch the movie, why watch a trailer? Like, a trailer is there to entice you. So if you're already enticed,
I'm already sold. Yeah, and I was sold. I like Wolverine and I like Deadpool. Obviously, we like Ryan Reynolds. So yeah, I'm in, and I really enjoyed this. You know what? So for this episode, I'm gonna try and do my in the moment reaction And then I'm going to try and do the critical thing because there were some things afterwards. I was like, yeah, maybe you could have like thought about this a bit more and that. So I'm going to try and do that. But I enjoyed it. I laughed. As I found it funny. Yes, juvenile at times. I did have the question of why do this, and I know why because Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman are friends. Obviously, Disney buying the properties, so you got to integrate them. So I get that why, but for me, like Logan, I would say Logan, like narratively, like storytelling wise, is probably the best Marvel story.
Mm.
Yeah, I'd hold myself to that. The best Marvel story and such a great ending
We'll remember.
for that character. And there was a question of why do that? And at the end, I'm like, yeah, okay, all right. It was I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I enjoyed it, but I can see some of the maybe the issues that I'm gonna give Vic the burden of bringing up the issues, and I might go with you on some of them. But otherwise, I'm gonna stay with Tazzy and be like, yeah, I'm good. I enjoyed it. So all right, we'll get into it. I'll do a recap and then we'll talk a bit more. So this is a story that takes us to Earth 616 on the sacred timeline, where Wade Wilson is hoping to join the Avengers, who isn't, and give his life meaning. But he is rejected by Happy Hogan and returns to his own universe. 6 years later, Wade has broken up with Vanessa, retired from being the masked mercenary Deadpool, and works as a used car salesman with his friend and former X-Force member, Peter. Not Peter Parker, just Peter. During Wade's birthday party, the Time Variance Authority, TVA, captures him and brings him to Paradox, who reveals that Wade's timeline is deteriorating as a result of the death of its stabilizing anchor being, Logan, while protecting his daughter, Laura. Paradox plans to accelerate this process with a Time Ripper device and offers to spare Wade by sending him to the sacred timeline, where he is expected to play an important role in future events. Wade steals Paradox's tempad and uses it to travel to Logan's grave, hoping to resurrect him and save their timeline. When this fails, Wade travels the multiverse and finds a replacement alternate universe variant of Logan. So Wade returns to the TVA, but is told by Paradox that an anchor being cannot be replaced and that his variant is considered the worst Wolverine in the multiverse. Paradox then sends Wade and Logan to the Void, and Logan agrees to work with Wade when he claims the TVA can change his timeline. So Wade and Logan are captured with Johnny Storm and taken to Cassandra Nova, the powerful twin sister of X-Men leader Charles Xavier. Cassandra, who made a deal with the TVA to oversee the Void, kills Johnny pretty quickly and leaves Wade and Logan to be consumed by Alioth, but they manage to escape. The pair meet a Deadpool variant called Nicepool, who directs them towards a resistance group fighting Cassandra. Logan soon realizes that Wade is bluffing, and the pair fight until they are found by the resistance group made up of Laura, Elektra, Blade, and Gambit. Wade proposes an alliance to fight Cassandra, and Laura convinces Logan, distraught over his reluctance that led to the death of his fellow X-Men, to join the cause. The Resistance members distract Cassandra's henchmen, while Wade and Logan block her powers with Juggernaut's helmet. Cassandra is betrayed by her follower Pyro on behalf of Paradox and almost dies until Logan convinces Wade to remove the helmet. Then Cassandra heals herself and opens up a portal to Earth 1005, which Logan and Wade jump through. Cassandra learns about Paradox's plan and follows Logan and Wade to that Earth. She takes control of the Time Ripper and plans to destroy all timelines, leaving only the Void. She also summons the Deadpool Corps, an army of Deadpool variants who battle Wade and Logan until Peter arrives and distracts them. Still just Peter. So Wade and Logan learn that one of them can destroy the Time Ripper by disrupting its power flow, but it would kill them. Eventually, they destroy the Time Ripper together, killing Cassandra in the process, and are able to survive by sharing the burden. It's all about friendship. Paradox is then arrested by the TVA, and Wolverine is allowed to stay in Wade's world. Wade's world. Wade invites Logan to meet his friends and reconciles with Vanessa. The end. Well, except for the post-credit scenes, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So I was wondering where to start with this. We usually start with some kind of production. I feel we should get into like the success of it and then how it came to be, because for those that don't know, this is, I mean, there have been two previous Deadpool films under Fox. And then when the acquisition of 21st Century Fox by Disney was announced in 2017, Disney CEO Bob Iger said Reynolds' Deadpool would be integrated within the MCU along with all the other properties, and saying that Disney was willing to make R-rated Deadpool films, quote, as long as we let the audience know what's coming, and said that a Marvel R brand could be created for characters like Deadpool. I actually thought that was quite interesting because this was one of the key sticking points, right? It's like, oh, you're going to do Deadpool, but it's Disney, so it's going to be a 12 or whatever that equivalent is. So that was one sticking point. And then the other sticking point, as I've touched on, is Wolverine, specifically Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, who has, I mean, in the comic book film era, or at least this modern era, he's like the king, like him, Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, they're like that at the top of the pile. And he has such a delicate legacy that did end with Logan and was brought back. So there was a kind of sticking point there as well. Why do this? Is this going to work? Did this work? Do you feel? I know Vic, you were skeptical even after. Did you feel it worked on any level? Do you feel it was worth even bringing back Hugh Jackman to do this?
I mean, obviously, defining me once Hugh Jackman pretty much, I'm completely on the side of do it until you want or can. I think he's Wolverine in our eyes. I mean, I know it's not comic book accurate. I don't think that comic book accurate Wolverine could even mount a bike, for it really is short, and it's almost never drawn that short. So for me, Hugh Jackman literally just impersonated Wolverine since I saw it, in X1, as a kid. And I didn't have any problem to bring him back. I mean, definitely will be more accepting of it, way more than Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Evans. So
I agree.
think, yeah. So, and obviously Logan was almost, it was kind of like the Killing Joke. I never read the Killing Joke, and then I thought that was the end of Batman. So I was quite charitable with that. I really don't think that there was any problem in bringing it back. As it worked out, I mean, obviously financially, it's worked out very, very well. Was it worth it? I really, really don't think so. This was not a cool movie. It was fun, but I wouldn't classify this as something that I'll rewatch often. It didn't, I feel like you there was a lot of like trying to like pull tears, especially towards the end, but it just didn't work for me. I don't know. As a movie, it's barely held together with tape, to be honest with you. Yeah, so I really don't think the movie was worth it. I think actually it will be reevaluated. I feel like there is definitely a little bit of hype now, and a lot of people had fun, but a lot of it is Hugh Jackman held in the movie, honestly. And there is this shining light that is Hugh Jackman, and he's amazing, and I absolutely love every time that he's on screen. But the moment that I turn my head away from the shining light, it's just, yeah. So as I said, I didn't think it worked as a movie, but I wasn't opposed to bringing him back in the first place.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, you talk about the success, and it has been at least commercial success. So far, it has earned $1.2 billion at the global box office and has become the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. The previous record holder was Joker, and one of the top 10 highest grossing movies in US history. So yeah, it worked. It's job done, right, Tazziii?
Yeah, I mean, clearly. I feel like it was not necessary. It was like an unnecessary thing, kind of. Like there was no reason, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean,
other than they like each other and Disney.
Yeah, it just made for like a fun co-op movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like story-wise, it was like there was no reason. I suppose the stakes were kind of high because it was like every universe ending, like all of the timelines.
Yeah, that's what's going to be for the next 20 years. Every movie now has to have the universe as
until
the
you're
end
90.
of the world. Otherwise, what's the point?
Wait, what? Does it? No, because I feel like what it done was actually open it up to be like there are universes that don't have to connect.
Right.
It was like, here's the sacred timeline, and then here's loads of other timelines. There is like a kind of acknowledge that there's loads of other timelines that exist. And then the ending was Deadpool saving his timeline and not the sacred timeline. So it was like, oh, okay, like maybe there will be ones that don't exist on the sacred timeline, and they've already explained everything with Deadpool versus Wolverine, that sacred timeline and non-sacred timelines, and they will exist, and there's loads of them. So infinite possibilities.
Or we could just bring back Robert Downey Jr. Who knows?
That's
Oh
right.
God, yeah. Don't even get
uh,
me started on that.
I hope he plays every member of the Fantastic Four. I think that'd be really cool.
some Eddie Murphy thing going on. Well, I mean that goes into, because I do want to talk about the narrative as well, but there is that question of what is the balance between serving the narrative and serving the commercial interest of Disney, who by this point they've got something that has, well, not just the potential, because it has made a load of money, but the potential to continue making that level of money. But how do you do that? Now you've got these characters there's that nostalgia, right? We know these characters. People, a large amount of people like seeing characters they know, they recognize, that works for the box office. But then there is a story to be told, and we can talk about how well this tells a story, because I was thinking about the emotional center of it. So this is I read a quote somewhere. I think it was a Kevin Feige quote. Do I have that? It was a Kevin Feige quote. I'll kind of paraphrase, but he talked about how for the MCU films, you get the first one, you get the second one, and then the third one goes big. And we've seen that in like Spider-Man, we see that in Iron Man, Captain America. We've seen like the third one, so the scale of things go big, but then this still aims to be rooted in that emotional core. So we get Deadpool, who is all about finding meaning in his life and making up for sort of mistakes in his relationship with Vanessa. So that's what we're kind of anchored to, sort of. At least there's an attempt to at the beginning. And then after we get an idea of what Wade wants, then we get into what is essentially like a buddy cop kind of movie. So you get this like buddy cop movies, like two characters are mismatched partners, but they're going after this goal, and then that leads to them having like tension and conflict, and we get that between these two. So they really do go on a journey, and there is that story there. I don't know. Did you get the emotional need or want from Wade at the beginning? At least at the beginning, we can talk about the rest of the journey, but at least at the beginning, was it clear to you what he wanted? And actually, was it clear? What did you care? Did you care about what he wanted? That's a better word.
So fun fact, I got to the cinema like 10 minutes late.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. So you got none of that, because that was all that 10 minutes was.
Don't worry about it.
I missed that originally and had to watch it again because I was like, I'm not sure if I'll get to see it again before recording this, because I literally went to the cinema on Saturday because busy week and just And then so I wasn't sure so I was like, I'm just gonna sit here and watch it. And then so I missed that initial bit anyway, and I was a bit like, I don't know. So the moment I started watching was when they're like in the room at the, what is it?
Oh,
The
with Happy.
TSA.
Yeah.
Oh no, that room. Okay.
When he's just after he's been brought there with what's his paradox? It's like,
Well, that's fine. You didn't miss the best part of the movie, which is the opening, the second opening. So you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. But then when I watched it back, I was like, oh, okay, makes sense. But I still feel like I don't think it went in enough.
In terms of like the emotion of it, or just
yeah, because it's
right.
not until, what's her name? Xavier's sister.
Oh, Cassandra.
Cassandra puts her hand into his head.
Like literally.
Yeah. I feel like the weight of what he went through was even explored. Like that initial bit was like, it doesn't really go that deep into like the breakup, which is obviously the most emotional part for Wade.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, it's that's actually one of my main gripes with the movie. I mean, it's like when everybody was scared about the multiverse being a thing and the TVA being a thing, that meant that a lot of these stories were going to lose some meaning. That was Spider-Verse, which kind of proved all those theories wrong. Spider-Verse was full of variants and different Spider-Mans. But Spider-Verse never
We're talking about the
forget.
animation.
Correct. Yeah. Sorry
Yeah.
about the Into the Spider-Verse, right? But Into the Spider-Verse takes like a big chunk of its time to spend with family, with his parents, with his love tribulations, and it's why the movie is so successful, because you start caring about the characters. I think that those 2 seconds that they spent in trying to forge this idea of a love relationship drama, it was way too little. It was barely there. It just kind of meant nothing. And also, the meaning was also kind of very muddy. Like, oh, it's about getting your girlfriend back, or is about the fact that you don't feel enough? What is? It was very. It wasn't well thought out. They clearly did not have a reason to actually do this. Yeah, and aside from a copious amount of money, obviously.
Yeah, I mean that'll fix some things.
Right. I mean, there was a interview that I watched with Ryan Reynolds, and he was speaking about the fact that he worked on the Deadpool 3 script for a long time and couldn't find anything, right? Couldn't find a story.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
Or
right,
read.
and then when he found out about Hugh Jackman that he wanted to jump in, he had the script ready the next day, and I was like, that was a problem. Like, you should have let this cook a little bit more. So yeah, it did not work on either side. I mean, obviously Hugh Jackman performance was amazing, and I think the story about the suit, right, the reason why he has the suit, I think it's lovely. It was really cool. But is that because it's Hugh Jackman and because we have movies that 20 years ago were amazing, or is it the movie?
Yeah, I mean there is that nostalgia aspect. You bring it, and
we'll bring it up, I'm sure.
yeah, and the start. So I agree. Like the start of this film is very, let's say, compact. that emotional part of like why he's doing the things he's doing, and a lot of it is almost in terms of like the nostalgia for Wolverine and that the nostalgia of the previous 2 Deadpool films. You kind of have to bring that in because you've seen the relationship with Vanessa and everything. So you're almost like bringing that in. It's like a reminder of like, yeah, this thing happened. This is why he's sad. Okay, now let's get to the jokes. Which again, I thought they were funny, but and then this, like as I mentioned, this like the structure of the film, which I also thought was cool. Is like seeing these 2 personalities clash. So when you have this like buddy cop thing, there's different beats that you kind of have to hit or you typically hit in films like this. And one of them that I liked in this is the forced partnership. So you get like, if it's a literal cop film, you get like your superior saying that you got to, both got to take this case for whatever reason. And there's this part where the 2 partners meet. And if it's like a romantic comedy, there's that term meet cute, which is like where the characters have their first interaction. And I didn't know this term. There's a term meet violent, which in films like this where the 2 characters have their kind of moment, and you see that first like fight with. I mean, when he travels the multiverse and he's sort of fighting with different versions of Wolverine, but that one where they are sent to the void. And then they did have that. All right, let's go. Let's do this. Just let's get it out. I love that moment in terms of like what it meant for one of these beats of the film. But yeah, no, I feel the film was kind of, I'll say, weighted down. I don't know if that's the right term, but by the awareness of everything around it, because I thought the start of it was very much addressing all the concerns that people have, because that legacy of Logan, the film Logan, was like, right at the top in terms of like, should they do this? How are they gonna respect it? And it just went in a Deadpool style of like, we're going to respect it by not respecting it, and we're literally going to dig up his grave and try and get him back. Oh no, that doesn't work. Let me use his bones to fight off this horde of enemies. And it's such a it's such a Deadpool / Ryan Reynolds approach to, I would say, in a twisted way, like almost respect the legacy by not respecting the legacy, and then it goes into the thing. But yeah, the emotional part was maybe missing. You are reminded of it at the beginning, and then you kind of park it for the majority of the film until you pick it back up again at the very end. On the journey for that in between bit, on the journey of these 2, were there any particular like moments that you really enjoyed on the journey that they took through the void, through the multiverse, and then to the sort of ultimate ending?
Yes, An educated wish. Oh my god. That moment, and he just screams at him, I didn't lie, I made an educated wish. He's like, what's it? An
What does that mean?
educated wish. I was like, that is one of the best phrases I have ever heard, and I love it, and I'm going to use that.
That was a good one.
And then just the whole scene that like unfolds after that, just like everything about that scene I was there for, because it was
Describe
like
the scene to
so it starts off by Wolverine realizing that Deadpool hadn't been 100%
fully
truthful.
Yeah.
And then Deadpool defends with that he made an educated wish, which then turns into Wolverine saying some really mean things to Deadpool, and Deadpool is just like, that really hurt. He doesn't even say that. He just goes quiet, looks at him and goes, I'm gonna fight you now.
Yeah.
Which breaks out into carnage, but as they start fighting, they like hit the radio. And this is why I love it, just every detail. And then it proceeds to play like a couple of songs from The Greatest Showman before ending on oh my god, Grease song. Can't remember which song now, but one of the songs from Grease. And then they break out into this like epic fight, all inside of what is it, like a Honda. Is it a Honda? Something. It's a very specific model because it compares it to the outbreak of chlamydia. Which is like an absolute carnage fight. It is like absolutely epic to this like musical song with these like just great moves. And then I think there's one point where it pauses and Deadpool's just like, take it back, this car's pretty good. And they carry on, and there's just like these constant like one-liners in this like very gruesome, blood everywhere, knives and
baby knife
claws going in, baby knife, and just everywhere until they literally fall asleep. And get kidnapped.
This film's more like a rom-com.
Yeah, it's absolutely like
that was the fight.
It's like a rom-com, but like the fight version of a rom-com. Yeah, that's probably why I like it.
And like, because by that point you're really seeing the two styles. So you've got the non-stop chatter and jokes and talking of Deadpool, and you've got the sort of silent brooding nature of Wolverine, and especially this Wolverine, because if there is another emotional aspect to this, it's Wolverine being the worst version, and him, I guess there's a lot of self-hate going on because he's let down the X-Men, he's let down his family, and he's looking for that redemption. So I feel of the two, that one had the most weight to it. Like I felt that one more. So he's really on this journey because he wants to make amends, and Deadpool has told him, I can help you do that. Oh wait, no, it's a educated wish. So they have this fight, and when you do these kind of stories, it's like having the clash of personalities and the different personal stakes and the backstory. So we do get that aspect to it, and then they get kidnapped.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the highlights, probably the best actual scene in the movie. I have to say, I do really like, I can't get it out of my head, the Dancing on the Grave song, Dance killing with his bones of adamantium. I thought that was genius.
Oh, the NSYNC.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and using that song, which is I don't know if you guys noticed, that song was a song that already annoyed Wolverine in X-Men 2. So they're driving by car, and Pyro is putting that song on the car, and Wolverine is turning it off. So he's dancing on the grave of Wolverine.
I did not know that.
Yeah, on that song, taking his bones and absolutely murdering people with it. I just feel like if there was a way to start the movie And I don't think that anyone could have done better. I generally can't think of a way to say to all the purists, if people would like to be precious about Logan, or just this is how it's gonna be, and this is Deadpool, and just win
Yeah,
those people right at the beginning of the movie, just win them back
it really was that.
instantaneously.
Yeah.
It's impossible to dislike. That bit was just fantastic.
I did not know that. That is a cool
It's a
detail.
good fact, yeah.
Yeah, it's great fun.
I mean, I do want to talk about like we have to talk about the cameos as well, and the
Is
like
it because it's a whole movie?
pretty much, yeah.
I mean, we got warned about it very early on.
Yeah.
If there's one thing, at least everything was kind of like, by the way, all of this is going to be in the movie, and what isn't going to be in the movie is cocaine.
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
we're here for everything but cocaine. And then like the comic influences, because I mean we were talking just before recording this, because Vic works at Legacy Comics and has a whole knowledge of comic book influences, and I was saying that with these kind of films, it's always good to know like the source material for my own personal interest as well, to be honest, because I often don't always know where everything has come from, but then also just for like a lot of the young people that we do workshops with, and good for them to have that connection. So I don't know if you're familiar, Vic, with like the origins of these two working together or coming together in the comics.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely like an effort that took a few years from a few different writers. So it wasn't something that just happened, Joe Kelly did a lot of it, and then in Wolverine as well, a lot of X-Force stuff, So with a lot of these movies is always like, I think we talked about it, it's always like an amalgamation of things. But the relationship between the two is pretty one-to-one to the modern, so where we ended up in comics, to this sort of like, Deadpool's very irritating, Wolverine is the stoic one. Wolverine most of the times really does wish that he would be dead, so yeah, that part, it's totally comic book accurate. It took a while to get there. It wasn't quite like that from the real beginning, but when this sort of like slapstick became a sort of like more of a modern humor, that really like solidified that relationship. In terms of other stuff in the movie, obviously it's very, very different from anything in the comics. I mean, even though elements are, taken from there, like Cassandra Nova, they're all reworked to serve the movie, which is totally fine. It's a bit of a shame that it does mean that we actually won't see some of the cool things that happen in the comics. Cassandra is an incredible character. She's really cool in the comics. Very scary, very sinister.
Get that impression.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but she actually has a little surprise in her character story. So she's not just a villain. And if anyone would like to read it, the run where she appears, it's New X-Men, which is, written by Grant Morrison and run by Frank Whiteley. Frank Whiteley was actually the guy that in the movie gets inspired by the fingers entering the brains, right? That's a Frank Whiteley shot. He's like that.
I saw that
visual key. Yeah, it's him basically. And at the very end of that run, it's maybe one of my favorite ending of a comic book series of all time. And it does includes her, and she has a way bigger role to play in the X-Men comics than in this movie. And again, I'm not, obviously, it's a shame, but I wouldn't judge the movie for that. I'm usually try to separate like comics and movies. It's different things. I was hoping that one day they could do more with Cassandra, but I don't know. Once she's been used like that, I think.
Yeah, can you bring her back?
Yeah. So yeah, overall, a lot of callbacks, a lot of like stuff that it's fairly comic accurate, but the remix is very, very, very different.
Okay, that's interesting to know. And I always like hearing like where things have come from and how they've been like remixed in that way. So yes, like I said, cameo. So yeah, that's the remainder of the film is cameo. So what's interesting is when you get like sort of if you map it to like a hero's journey kind of thing, you have the stage of the ordeal. So it's like near the middle of the story where the hero enters a space in the special world. I guess in this case is the void, and confronts the like death, whatever death means to that character. And I feel like the void is that space where if we're taking like Wade as looking for meaning and wanting to matter, he's in the void where things go to get forgotten, things are tossed away. So that's like the worst thing for him. And then that's when we meet all the characters. So I'll quickly run through all well, not all the cameos, but some of the main ones that stood out, and then be interested to know what stood out to people. We get Chris Evans as the Human Torch, last seen in Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, which is 2007. Obviously, he's had a bit of a glow up in the MCU since then. Wesley Snipes as Blade, last seen Blade Trinity, 2004. He's had old tax issues since then. Henry Cavill as Wolverine, Jennifer Garner as Elektra, who was in Elektra, 2005. Channing Tatum as Gambit, Daphne Keane as X-23 or Laura, last seen in Logan, and Tyler Mane as Sabretooth, last seen in X-Men 2000. Not X-Men 2000, X-Men in the year 2000. And going back to what I said earlier about, like, I didn't see I don't think I saw a trailer for this. I definitely didn't know about, I'm sure there would be cameos, but I didn't know about these ones. The two that really surprised me. So when I saw Chris Evans, I did think we went straight to Captain America. I was like, oh, okay, we're going to get that. And then he switched to Human Torch. I'm like, okay, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And then the one that genuinely surprised me was Wesley Snipes. Like seeing Wesley Snipes, I was like, what is?
Yeah.
I almost in the theater went to my phone. I'm like, is Wesley Snipes really? Am I really watching Wesley Snipes right now? I didn't expect that. That was a genuine surprise to me, but a pleasant surprise. But how about the two of you? What did any of those surprise you? Did you know they were coming? What did you think?
I mean, just like you, I don't really watch any trailers or anything. I just kind of stay away from all the news, but for me, it was simply Wesley Snipes. I mean, Chris Evans as Human Torch, the moment that I saw like Blonde, I was like, they're doing the Human Torch. You know, he's talked about it before. Wesley Snipes, though, man, and the line that they gave him, there is only one blade. That was was really surprising. Yeah.
That actually moved me. So to see him in that.
I mean, everyone else, I was happy to see. You know, I mean, Jennifer Garner. That's the reason why I wear glasses at this point. I think it was like 2005. You know, I remember that movie very fondly. And but yeah, I think everyone else, even Gambit, it was it was a sure guess almost. But Wesley Snipes to me was quite shocking.
Yeah, I don't know whether surprise is the right word, because I went in just completely like in for the ride kind of thing. So everything's a surprise. But yeah, obviously Wesley Snipes, it was just like, and then also I could not remember who Elektra was.
I mean,
no, you might not be the only one. Yeah, that's fine.
And then it was like, it took me a while, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, now I remember. And then I think Gambit threw me off because that's an unmade film.
Yeah.
And I had to like research because I was like, what? And then it helps that I then saw it again between watching it the first time and the second time, and then it made the whole cameo so much more funny. Because there's one line that he says that's like, I think I was born here, in like whatever accent that was. Which is also hilarious, the whole like joke about the whatever that was.
Yeah,
because then Deadpool has that line. It's like, what is that accent?
He goes, what is that accent? And he was like, you've really got to talk to your like voice, not voice coach,
like your voice
but,
coaches.
Yeah. So.
I will say, like, the whole Gambit thing is like, because it was like rumors that he was going to be Gambit, and then it was stuck in development hell, and then never got made. I for one, not that I don't like Channing Tatum, but I was never having Channing Tatum as Gambit.
Ooh.
Never have it. Never
he
having it.
loves Gambit.
And it's fine. More power to him. Don't mean you get to play it. So.
I don't know Gambit as a hero, but when I done my research, I was like, the costume's pretty accurate.
Oh yeah, he's cool.
Like, it was like, there is no doubt in that.
I did like seeing him in this, safe in the knowledge that meant he would never take up the Gambit role. But I did enjoy him. I did enjoy it. But because for me, and it's not even necessarily the comics, it's from the original 90s show. Like, that is just imprinted in my mind, and that just doesn't fit. It's very, very I would say it's very personal to me, and it's a very visceral reaction because I felt like, not that I do the whole social media uproar thing, but I thought I might have had to do that.
You were like, you are not my Gambit.
yeah, hashtag not
Yeah.
my Gambit. Like I might have had to do that actually.
It's definitely weird that I mean, he spoke about Gambit so much for so long. It really is weird that he allowed it to be a joke because, I mean, even the action scenes, they look very campy. Like, it does not look cool. I mean, I don't know what it is. It
But if you're
didn't
never going
work
to get a
for me.
chance, why not?
Yeah.
If you're trying to
Yeah.
tell
Also,
why not do it?
I feel like he's someone that's like, okay, like he's comfortable to make like jokes about himself. So
Oh, sure. Yeah.
like,
He's that
I
kind of guy.
appreciate that in an actor.
Yeah.
He's good. What's the speaking of buddy cop? 21 Jump Street. I'll give him that.
21 Jump Street, so much, such a good film.
Yeah, I'll give him that.
Which now we have a new. It's Jeff. We have another, and it's still him. You know, just doing a weird accent. Yeah.
So yeah, we get a bunch of cameos. Pretty much the film. I do wonder. So the whole meta thing, because looking at some of the reaction after watching the film, I got the impression that I don't know if people missed the point, or I mean, obviously, like Vic, you're very well informed in terms of the character, and you didn't like it. So obviously, there is that valid criticism, but just people feeling like it was either too meta or too. I don't think I saw necessarily the word cynical, but I got the impression that people didn't like the cynicism of this being a corporate entity poking fun at the audience. Some people I got. So I got this quote from, I'm going to say, Bilge Ebri through Vulture. Apologies if I butchered that name, I might have. Who says, honestly, it appears the film to exist solely to make money. The film tries to wink its way out of its nonsense plot. It acknowledges its own cravenness, and that transparency can be preferable to solid sincerity. So they really didn't like it.
Have they seen a Deadpool movie before?
So that's what I'm saying, because so a lot of that is like up, because I feel some people took it as Disney being like, oh yeah, we got Fox, we got this character, and now we're gonna make you watch this film where we're gonna be self-referential and miss the fact that this is what Deadpool does. Like in the comics, this is what he does. And then I don't know if either of you got that from any reactions.
I've not even looked at any reactions apart from like a handful of people that I know personally, like seen them like just excited that Deadpool and Wolverine are in a film together. I've not seen any of that, but also like, do you know Deadpool? And like, it's not even just Deadpool because it's also like Ryan Reynolds' form of comedy.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
it's definitely him.
Like it just is. I wouldn't have expected it. Yeah, I wouldn't have expected anything different. Like if it didn't make so much fun of itself, I'd think that Ryan Reynolds was like ill when he was writing it. Something was up, you know. It would have been like there were shackles on him if he didn't constantly talk about it and talk about what he can and can't do in this movie because he's now owned by Disney. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, Clint. I think that was the one bit that was like absolutely. I do think they went over the top with some of the wall breaking, but I think in terms of like what they were commenting on, it's like wouldn't have made sense otherwise. What would you want them to do? Completely ignore that the franchise has now been taken over, and it like Deadpool, the person that wants so badly to be part of the Avengers. Now potentially has their chance and is going to make 4 cry. Like, what are you going to just ignore that? Would not be a Deadpool movie, would it? Really? Come on now.
That's why I thought some people were missing that because it is a part of the character in the comics, like this whole breaking the fourth wall and doing that meta commentary on comic book tropes when it comes to the comics. So, and in the previous 2 films, so naturally we're going to get that. But yeah, I just got that sense. There was a couple people I did see who commented on, and this is where maybe this is, I don't know if it's overthinking it a bit, but we're doing a 2-hour podcast on it anyway, so let's overthink.
We're here to overthink.
Yeah. But there was a little bit of maybe just broke through my defenses where a couple of people made a comment that it was a bit distasteful seeing Disney essentially poke fun about a company, 21st Century Fox, that they have just taken over in the real world. and that kind of, then you get into all the, I'm sure there's like job losses and things like that. So then seeing this character Deadpool just sort of making fun of Fox in a few places, like we see the logo in the void, which I thought was funny, but when you put it with that lens, it kind of takes a bit of a, but then it's, I don't know if that's,
I feel like a lot of the people that were there for the merger are probably watching his movies and also laughing about it. Like it's actually kind of, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say it happens.
Yes, yeah.
Like, it's not going to stop it from happening.
Yeah.
It's not going to change anything. And it's not an out of character way. Like, I feel like if it was in like a out of character way, or if it was Logan poking fun.
Yeah, or like genuinely mean.
Yeah, but it was very much in complete style of Deadpool, and like the logo being in the like, it's just hilarious. I mean, there was Ant-Man's giant body and a joke about Paul Rudd finally aging. Like, like this is a film that does dance the line of being offensive and constantly talks about it as well. That would not be the thing that gave me a bit of it, because it was so in character. It was just so incredibly on the nose. But I get why people might, I don't know. Also, like, is this people that worked for Fox?
Probably not.
Like,
no, I think like
their opinions
critics
are valid.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You know what? Sometimes
from the
you can't be more mad at something than the person who was impacted by that.
I'll say this though. I think the quote that you say, actually, I mean, let's I will want to read the whole article, because I feel like it could be taken out of context a little bit, and maybe I'll go and check it out, because I feel like that was actually one of my main problems with the movie. And it's not that the fourth wall is bad, or it shouldn't be, or it shouldn't acknowledge itself, but there comes a point where if nothing is serious, then it's really hard for you to just grab anything, like from the plot or from the stakes,
like investing it.
Right, yeah. I mean, I remember watching Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2, and I felt in my mind, okay, so Deadpool is a character that can break the fourth wall at any point, right? So why is he not just breaking the fourth wall, coming on the other side of the cinema, and just killing the bad guy that way? Maybe killing the director of the movie. Right? You can actually take that to a degree where the movie doesn't work anymore, or unless you really are doing some avant-garde type, stuff. So I feel like maybe this is what people criticism is, and maybe this is also why I just feel like I didn't like as much as I liked Deadpool 1 and 2. It's because Deadpool 1 and 2, at one point, they kind of stopped referencing each other, and they were like, no, this is a matter of life and death. Like, these characters can die, right? And maybe this movie just went in the direction that was so almost loose, that kind of became meaningless.
Lost meaning.
Right? And so, like, there is this really fine line. Like, when I read, like, the film tries to wink its way out of its nonsense plot, I don't think that's unfair, I'm just... You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. I had a question, because I felt this sometimes with Thor. I felt this with Thor.
Oh my god!
What was the one before Love and Thunder?
Oh, Ragnarok.
Okay.
Ragnarok. So I had. So
we all hate that one unanimously.
I'll bring this back around, because I felt that a little bit with Ragnarok, and then with Love and Thunder, I was like, oh no, Ragnarok was fine. This is the problem. So I had to kind of like go back and apologize to Ragnarok. And I guess there's a bit of this where, because I was going to ask the question, like, can you have meaningful stakes in a comedy? Because comedy is about removing those stakes, but then there's that balance where you can have like, okay, now it's time to get serious, where maybe this film didn't make that stop.
Yeah, I feel like what Vic said, I'm like thinking about like watching 1 and 2, and like when you're not breaking the fourth wall, you're so invested in this emotional thing, and I feel like that didn't happen with this film. And because I have said like there was a bit too much of it. What was in it? Not so much. There was a bit too much of it. And I think the moment for me where it was like, okay, come on now, and maybe it wouldn't have been that way if there was just a little less of it, was when Nice Paul done it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then like that, I feel like that bit would have been funny as well if the fourth wall hadn't been broken so much already. I feel like there was just some points where the fourth wall was broken that were just like entirely
Didn't need to do that.
unnecessary. Yeah.
Balance. It's about that balance.
And maybe it was just like a little bit too tipped.
All right. Well, I had something I was going to bring up, but I'll save it to characters. And just to touch on, because we talked about some of the visuals, the one visual I did want to touch on is just Wolverine's suit, because that was a big moment. I know that this whole idea of like Wolverine in the classic yellow suit and Hugh Jackman playing this for like 20 years or something like that, and never worn that comics accurate suit. And there was even that joke in the first X-Men about, you know, them all wearing black leather. And then I think when they're on the way to a mission, like, you know, he's like, oh, you actually wear these? And Cyclops is like, what would you expect? Like yellow spandex. So there's always that kind of joke of never wanting to own the look because it could come off as cheesy. But here I feel it works. And then because it comes at whatever year this is of him playing Wolverine, it's like it has that meaning to it. I don't know if either of you, if it had that, the suit had that meaning, or you were aware of that, the meaning of him like finally wearing the yellow suit.
I mean, for me, it was a little annoying that it wasn't ever quite perfect because it was like, okay, we got here, right? We have the suit now, but then you give me the sleeves, right? And the shoulder pads. And then you give me the no sleeve, but no shoulder pads. And it's like, all right, what are we doing? Are you guys trolling us? Like, he never actually had the shoulder pads with no sleeves. It's like, come on. You know, like now, you know, some people might think like, okay, this guy, dude, this basement dweller, you know, but I mean, we got to this point, just do the thing, you know, and obviously, I mean, let's not even talk about the CGI stuff. It's dreadful. Like it looked terrible.
Well, I mean, Marvel's got this ongoing thing of
Oh god,
CGI, which I feel.
Yeah, the solid mask was fine. I feel like, but I don't know, like the meaning of the suit. I actually feel like to the point of the movie, I feel like the meaning of the suit, of like why he keeps it. I mean, it's fairly sort of, I've seen it before. It's not anything original, but I think with Wolverine it really does work because it's something. Oh, I'd never wear it because I'm look at me, I'm like cowboy, right? But like the fact that he would wear something so colorful, yeah, it's sweet, right? I think actually the reason worked better than my own desire of seeing him in a suit, you know?
Yeah. I feel like the movie made it a thing. Like, because I wouldn't have really picked up on it at all. But the fact that the movie like highlighted like the reason behind it for that character was pretty cool. Added so much emotion to it.
Exactly, yeah. So like I feel Logan brings a lot of the emotional weight to this film and the meaning in that period where obviously it's like bookended by Deadpool's emotional stuff, but Logan's a bit more consistent with the meaning. So we've spoken a lot about the characters and the cameos. I don't know if there's any standout characters for you. I will bring this is where I'll bring a criticism of the film, because I felt so with Cassandra Nova, that broke the film a little bit for me because I felt she was too powerful. Because you meet Johnny Storm, which again, so funny interaction, and then you meet Cassandra, and then she just takes him out. So you see her powers; she's like untouchable. And I know, like Deadpool Wolverine, they've got the healing factor and everything, but just in my mind, I was like, she seems too powerful, and the film is going to have to do the thing where we need to protect the characters for the plot, because from what I've just seen of this character, she can end this. She can end this film right now at the halfway mark, and he doesn't. So it all the way throughout, I'm like, it felt there's something in the back of my mind where it's like she can do more. I've seen her like rip the skin off this guy. She can end this, but she's not, because obviously the plot and everything. And I think that was the only moment where I felt taken out of things a bit.
Really interesting, because like she can't kill Deadpool. She can only injure him.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to kill Wolverine.
So, and that's the thing, is like I acknowledge the restraints, but at the same time, as soon as I saw like rip the skin off and melt.
Yeah, and obviously she's a psychic, right? So she can she can just put him in a stasis forever. So
Yeah, I was like, I just like
But she also likes toying with people. Like that was her whole
yes,
thing. So if she had done
True.
that, it would have been out of character because her whole thing is like, A, she knows she's powerful. B, she's grown up in the void. So she's kind of like a chained animal because she could leave any moment,
yeah, but she chooses not to.
but she chooses not to. But it's because she's got a false leash on her, which happens to a lot of like powerful animals where they raise them in captivity and then
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they
an
don't know how
interesting point.
powerful
Yeah,
you are.
yeah, and the void is kind of is her safe space. I think she was a really cool complex character, and I'm really sad that she's so cool.
I'm kind of
That's
yeah.
like she needs her own movie
Oh, she's
or series.
so much more cool in the comics. Trust me, it's she's a real badass. Yeah.
I felt
Yeah.
that part of it as well. You've got this character who could be more, and then you're losing them. I felt that way a bit. Not to. I didn't think I'd bring up Thor: Love and Thunder this much. I really feel bad about myself for doing this. But
I'm
Kristen
kind of
Bell's
in between
character.
you two, I guess, guys. Yeah, I agree with Tazziii. Like there is ways that she's kind of self-limiting herself, and there is things that you can do. But I can see Nigel's point on the fact that you as a viewer are having a different experience. So you're watching this character that could do things. So for you, the sense of danger it's there, But yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I think we can agree that maybe she was a bit underutilized.
Oh yeah, I can agree on that. Yeah,
Definitely underutilized. But I also just feel like it was very well written of the type of character that she was, that she wouldn't leave
Yeah.
without a good reason. Because even they refer to her as the wild card, kind of like she's there, but I mean we're just lucky that she hasn't left. Until she actually does, and then they're like, yeah, kind of saw this one coming.
But yeah, in terms of character, actually, this is another point that I wanted to make about. Unfortunately, one of the things that I thought could be better is that most of the characters are very, the void was a moment and was actually kind of a lot of the movie, and the characters are not really characters. They show up and they have some funny thing to say, and they have a cool fight, and that's really about it. And
yeah,
when I heard that Deadpool was going to be and Wolverine are going to be in a movie, what I kind of was hoping for, and maybe I'm putting expectation on it would be wrong, but I was really hoping for on a incredible tight X-Force, movie where you have this team of amazing, cool killers, and maybe Cable is in it, and they have this huge, amazing mission where everybody does something, and obviously with Deadpool and Wolverine front and center. But I just feel like you have Hugh Jackman, and this wasn't enough for me. Like these characters are very, they're just there because of the old movies. It's a fun joke, but how cool it would have been to have a huge team of amazing, fully fledged characters. I mean, since we're making 2 hours and a half movies, go for it. Give us an amazing, cool X-Force team, fighting on another set of amazing characters, not just one or two. I mean, Todd was there and Pyro there, but they're really just moving the plot forward. Yeah, they're very brief, And then you have Sabrathus, man. I don't know. Yeah, just the character part. Actually, I was quite disappointed about.
The only one I'd give it to is Laura, because it kind of, again, you could still argue, and it'd be a valid argument that you end with Logan and that wraps up his arc very well. But they brought her back, and she did have the dynamic of encouraging him, because he was always, well, not always actually, but they have that dynamic where there's that support, even grudgingly, and then obviously she loses him at the end, and in here she gets to play the I'm gonna support you, I'm gonna inspire you to sort of return and actually be in this final sort of meet up when they go and take on Cassandra. So we get to see what kind of becomes of her. She gets to see Logan, even though that's not her Logan, because her Logan's still not underground anymore. Yes, I don't know what he did after that after that intro.
Scattered around.
Yes, somewhere. But yeah, she gets to be the the father figure almost to him and encourage him. So I thought that was a nice moment, and probably the only kind of character moment other than the cameo for I think literally everyone else.
Yeah, a lot of the characters were literally just like props, essentially.
Yeah.
Like they weren't characters; they were just people that were props. Like,
Yeah. One, I think because it wouldn't fit in anything else, want to bring up something. Maybe you guys can clarify it for me. But the whole, I mean, and disclaimer, I absolutely dislike the whole TVA. The whole, it's not for me. Like it just, I think this is just hogwash. Like absolutely, just not cool, not compelling. It's just faff. But having sacred timelines, whatever. But so this one here, okay, so Logan from the Logan movie, right, dies,
Yeah.
and then the TVA decides to bring Deadpool, which is from this timeline. By the way, the concept that one character is the main character in the universe is extremely
The anchor
undermining
being. Is it
to
anchor
everyone
being?
else.
anchor being.
Yeah. So Logan was the anchor being. So he dies, and then the TVA then decides to ask Deadpool to do what he needs to do, right? But Logan dies in the future, so like if they have an access to the whole timeline, then how is it that Deadpool gets brought now? Like it, and he wouldn't
Mm.
he live in a post-apocalyptic universe if it did, right? Like it's
Because are you saying they brought him from? Because they. Oh, now I'm lost.
Yeah, that's throwing me off. Because doesn't Deadpool know that
Wolverine
Logan's
is dead.
dead? Yeah.
Yeah, and if you bring in a Deadpool from the past, then why then? Why would you bring? If the TVA had access to bring in a Deadpool from the past, then why didn't you bring him when it was at his height of like in the first movie when he was still killing for contracts and all that?
Well, I
It
guess
just
that the idea is that because when they have that multiverse where he's jump hopping, it's like none of them want. There's too
Yeah.
much friction. None of them want to work. The only one he can find was the one that was so down and like self-loathing that he can get him over. And that was the idea. That this is the only one he could find to bring along.
But
okay.
wait, Vic, are you talking about like Deadpool, not Wolverine?
So both, right? Because obviously, if the universe is dying as a consequence of something, does that mean that so the TVA has access to time as well, right?
In that they can prune or like chop off timelines, but then they can move about because they send their people to move
Yeah.
about.
It's a bit. It doesn't actually have super solid ground,
It might not.
right?
I'm also not a fan of the TVA anyway. I just did not enjoy Loki.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually haven't watched the second season. Not a huge fan either.
I'm fascinated on how people are responding to it. I mean, obviously, it's got charismatic actors, and I love to see some of the stuff. But this idea, it's a narrative mess. Like I think it will be extremely detrimental of the rest of what's happening. Even the idea that there is a specific person in any universe that is more important than other ones. It's just.
But isn't it similar or somewhat similar to like Spider-Man and you have the canon events? Like there's certain events that happen to specific versions of that person across the multiverse that have to happen.
Yeah.
I would actually put that on. I would actually be okay with that because I feel like that's bringing back more of ideas of like fate and legacy and like totemic sort of like value. For example, did the spider always meant to bit Spider-Man?
yeah.
Right? Like I feel like there is definitely more of a I don't know like philosophical basis for that, and you're not actually playing with people's worth. I mean it cannot be a coincidence that Tony Stark, Iron Man, is, obviously they're stipulating that he would be the anchor point of his own universe, which is most likely what they're going to do. But, it's not a coincidence that he's also the actor that is paid the most and is the most popular one. And therefore, in narrative, this is also the most important character. You know, it's just so anti-art, you know, like or
Yeah.
So there's that
yeah.
balance again, right?
But also, I have a counterpoint,
Mhm.
not to defend them,
Corporate
but
overlords.
No, sure, let's
yeah.
go. I mean, this is great.
That's not what I'm doing. I do have a counterpoint to that because at the end of the film, Deadpool alters the future of the timeline, and it's remember that bringing another Logan doesn't change anything. It doesn't fix the universe.
Yeah.
So that makes a point that actions can happen to change the anchor being. Who is the anchor being?
So you can change the person.
You can change who the anchor being is.
Hmm.
Because essentially
Okay.
that's what they've done.
Oh,
Because Deadpool
because now
then
it's this
becomes
Logan.
the anchor being. No, it's not that Logan.
Oh
It's,
no.
it's
Oh.
Deadpool.
Oh yeah, that's the whole thing. Right, okay.
Okay. Okay, so action can change. Okay, so I guess that's morally a little bit more. Yes, I can see what you mean.
They did actually. That is one hole they patched up.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, all right, we got there.
It
So,
still
buddy,
implies that if this one person dies, we have to go through extreme lengths of dimensional ripping and fighting to make someone else the best. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also highlights that they don't understand the timelines because they're like, I don't know what you've done, but you've
Yeah.
repaired it. So they don't have a full understanding of the timelines anyway.
Yeah. Big kaboom. That's what happened.
it also potentially highlights that Vic is a communist. But anyway, we but we got to some themes. So there are some themes in there. We talked about some of them. We just deciphered another one which I did not fully pick up on watching it. But we mentioned that whole idea of self-worth and validation, seeing Deadpool, beneath that wisecracking exterior, that suffer from that lack of worth in his life. Similar to Logan, he's on this kind of redemption arc, trying to patch up the consequences of his actions that have really weighed him down. So just failing and then both looking to find purpose in their lives. Speaking of the TV, I did feel, maybe this is just me sort of reading into it too much, but like the TVA is almost like a surrogate for Disney and corporate mergers, because that's what they're doing, kind of like merging timelines, and then they're just going to snip off this bit because they don't like it. And it's kind of what they do, what Disney done. You merge, you snip off the bits you don't like, and then it's kind of reflected a little bit in terms of in the film Deadpool defending himself in that way, and even Ryan Reynolds having to insist that the film would be R-rated, which is against Disney's usual instincts and at least patterns in the previous 33 MCU films. And then I feel we've already spoken about like the emotional sort of weight maybe being lost in some of the comedy. It did feel like there was that rush to get to the comedy, the cameos, and then at the end we kind of then tap into, at least from a Deadpool perspective, like I said, with Wolverine, he just carries that with him all the way. But with Deadpool, at the end, then you get some of the emotional stuff again. So it's a bit of like a sandwich there. So bookended by some semblance of emotional weight, but maybe gets lost in the jokes along the way. So as we wrap up, I don't know, I mean, as usual, there's always like different bits we haven't got to. Were there any particular scenes that did leave an impression on either of you that we haven't touched on so far?
The Deadpool core. Is that what it's called?
Oh yeah, the grand
That's
ending.
right.
Like, because obviously we'd heard about them. It's like, you don't want to run into them. And then we run into them. Led by Lady Paul, who is awesome. And I really hope we get a Lady Paul. And that was so fun. It was so fun seeing like all the different Deadpools.
Yeah.
Like the baby Deadpool. Oh my God. The like kid Deadpool, Dogpool. Oh, a precious moment of like Logan just standing up holding the dog and them all like instantly stop shooting. Like just the group mentality of them and the fact that they're like not that bright, but like they're all Deadpools and they just have these like instinctual behaviors, like a pack of animals kind of thing. Like when Peter comes out and they're like, Peter! Yeah, just the whole like and the different fighting styles. And then when, oh God. when Nice Paw is killed.
Oh, that was you know what? That was that was such a there's so many like juvenile things that just
Yeah,
got me. That just
it's
that
so
that
funny.
cracks me up.
And then when the rest of them then rejuvenate and they're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
so these ones can. And the fact that you realise that the whole letting Nice Paw die was so that he could get the dog and the guns.
The dog was adorable. I need that dog.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna go over there and was it a hot dog truck or something? Always have
Oh, yeah.
first aid, like have medical help on it, and goes over and he's like, oh no, it's dead. Guns.
From the moment he saw those gold guns, it's like they will be mine.
Oh, that's hilarious. I will rewatch this film just for those moments. It's a good comedy.
For however small they were, I really like the different montages to see different Wolverines. That was actually kind of cool. They did
Mm.
a lot of cameos. You see like the Apocalypse Wolverine and seeing him in the outfit. It was just hilarious to see that they actually pull it off. The Jim Byrne costume, and he referenced that at the beginning of the movie. You see the X-Men 251 cover where he's like on the X, like crucified. That stuff was really welcome. That was a lot of fun. And just repeat myself at the beginning, that dancing his corpse, I don't know, for me that was the top. The whole idea, the whole whoever came up with it, it's just right on the money. It's exactly the vibe that the movie had to have.
I really enjoyed that, and even more so now you've explained that that connection.
Oh yeah,
To
I
early
definitely need to
films.
just watch that on YouTube over and over, and hope I was that good of a dancer. But yeah,
All right, I will end on one of my favorite scenes is the post credit scene, because
oh
there is a
yes,
moment in the film where I think Deadpool was saying like Human Torch said all these things about
Oh
Cassandra,
yeah.
that was
and
good.
it's like you never said that, and then they give us the post credit scene where we see him play on back, and just it's so funny because of the joke in the film about like seeing him like say those things, but then also for Chris Evans, who is Captain America now, he's managed to erase the efforts of that Fantastic Four films, and Captain America is just like just so straight, just Boy Scout kind of thing, and then to see that character go on that like tirade away, thought it was just a perfect way. I was very satisfied by the end. I thought, yeah, I waited for that. I'm happy with that.
There is also the little 20th century sort of movies sort of edit through the credit, and that was really nice to see. Obviously,
Yeah. Yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah. So there we go. We found some things that Vic liked about
oh
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
mission accomplished.
I just I think with a lot of I feel like I have this with a lot of the Marvel movies lately. It's the ride is fun. It's just that every time
You
that
question
something's
it
happening on
afterwards.
screen, I'm just like, oh, you could have done that though. It's like, and also it doesn't leave me. Like I remember, like as a kid, when I watched X-Men 1 and 2 and Spider-Man 2 or 1 and 2. I was like, I get out and like I felt like, oh man, I'm gonna put my claws now. Like I want to feel like one of them. And it just really engaged. This was just a laugh. And I just feel like it just wasn't just a laugh.
Right. I mean, the other explanation is we are all getting older, and that is the.
I don't know. Yeah, that may
There
be,
is
yeah.
that.
But I do feel like a kid, sometimes when there is a great movie, I feel like
Yeah.
a kid again. Like if you see, Toy Story 4 or 3, right? It's like
Mm.
you go right back,
Yeah. Some
Mm.
things can take you back. I'll give you that.
I mean, I watched The Imaginary and I really enjoyed that, and that is a proper kids film. So speak for
I
yourselves.
don't know what that is.
Okay, so we're all in the some level of jaded spectrum, maybe not so Tazzy. So there, there you go. So that is our discussion about Deadpool and Wolverine. As always, you can let us know what you thought about the film, about the discussion. Always interested to hear people's thoughts. So before we wrap up completely, we want to give you our storytelling tip. And I kind of touched on this earlier. The tip this week is about dual protagonists and using them in your story? So we talked a bit about the sort of dynamic between Wolverine. I was going to say Logan and Wolverine, between Deadpool and Wolverine. So this idea of the dual protagonist is a narrative structure that fits kind of between the single protagonist that we usually see and the more complex ensemble cast. So I've previously spoken about ensembles in episode 85 storytelling tip, which I actually realized Vic was also on because that's when we spoke about Eternals.
Ah,
Which probably maybe less said about that, the better.
another
But
movie I
yeah,
definitely like.
yeah. So in between ensembles and then dual protagonist. So with single protagonist, you're getting the narrative that focuses on one character, their journey, their development, their perspective. Ensemble is the other end, multiple characters who share the spotlight. So each character may have their own arc, but the narrative doesn't favor any single person or their journey above others. Whereas dual narratives focus on two central characters who share the narrative burden equally, and that allows for a bit of focus, but also you can add in different aspects, exploration of themes and character development. And unlike single protagonists, dual leads can offer contrasting viewpoints and create that dialogue within the story. And unlike ensemble, the narrative still remains quite tight, which obviously there was an issue with Eternals, with each protagonist's action closely linked to the others. So with Deadpool and Wolverine, it actually goes even tighter, like we mentioned, the sort of buddy cop type formula. So this genre is a real good example of how dual protagonists can be used effectively. So they often pair two very different characters who must work together to overcome a major challenge. And the contrast between the two characters provides that fuel for conflict and also comedy, while their evolving partnership drives the narrative forward. So we get that in Deadpool and Wolverine. We get two protagonists who are used to explore different aspects of the story's themes where they do exist in some level. Because of that, we get a bit more of a layered narrative than we might have if it had just been Deadpool, by contrasting his personalities and growth with Logan. So they embody contrasting characters, which helps explore the story's themes of like redemption and finding purpose. Both have shared goals, even though they have different approaches to reaching them. Although both of them still physically quite similar, both have healing factor. But generally speaking, that kind of dynamic can offer the audience multiple perspectives on the same problem. And both Deadpool and Wolverine have intersecting arcs, as they're literally on the same journey to show that their lives have meaning. And it's those parallel arcs that usually intersect, and then you can get into more deeper character development. We can see that being used in other stories. So if you go the buddy cop dual protagonist route even more, you can get shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where we've got Jake Peralta, Raymond Holt. So Jake Peralta being the talented but immature, impulsive detective, and then Captain Holt being the stoic, rule-bound, highly disciplined leader. And then the contrast between them is it's funny. It's a funny show. And then as the series progresses, their relationship deepens and they bring something out of each other. So it's a really good dynamic there. Another example is Bad Boys, which is a long running series, 30 years, I think. So we've got Mike Lowry and Marcus Burnett. So Lowry, played by Will Smith, smooth talking, carefree bachelor, or at least up until the last one. And Burnett, played by Martin Lawrence, is stressed by the book Family Man. So we see, again, contrasting lifestyles and approaches to crime fighting. But then that allows us to explore like themes of loyalty, trust, and sacrifices that come with what they do. So here are 4 tips to consider for your stories to do something similar. So number 1, think about balancing and symmetry. So one of the key challenges with doing dual protagonists is ensuring that both characters get equal narrative weight. So it doesn't necessarily mean equal screen time or word count or whatever, but rather both characters' arcs are fully developed and integral to the story. So something like the anime Death Note, where we may see Light Yagami more than L, but they're both like locked in that cat and mouse game. They're both like equally important to that story. Number 2 is embrace character contrast. So ensure that the two protagonists are distinct in personality and background. So that's what's going to drive the conflict, the humor, if you want to use that, but then also the eventual partnership or the deepening of the partnership. So the more different the characters are, the more potential there is for growth and development as they learn to work together. And I mentioned Bad Boys, but we see that over the 4 films now, their partnership evolves from one of friction to a deep brotherhood. And number 3 is develop a shared goal. So they may start out at odds, but they should be united by a common goal that necessitates their partnership. So this is that shared objective that forces them to collaborate despite their differences, and eventually helps their relationship go from conflict to a cooperation. So cooperation, not corporation. So like in the video game The Last of Us, we get the two protagonists, Joel and Ellie, and they have arcs that definitely start off from conflict, or at least indifference, and then some conflict. But then that journey, that emotional journey, from particularly from Joel going from like emotional detachment to caring father figure, contrasts with Ellie's loss of innocence and growing independence. So you see that relationship unfold in that story. And last but not least, number 4, you can use humor and action to deepen those relationships. So I do like the use of humor in that way. Same with action, so you can leverage the inherent humor in that relationship, in the differences in that dynamic between the two characters. But it shouldn't just be for laugh's sake or action for action's sake, but always be used to serve as a mechanism for the characters to deepen their bond and reveal things about them. So we talked about it earlier. That's why I really like that standout moment when they're in that car, in that minivan thing, and after Wade pushes Logan too far, Logan rips him, and then they fight. But it is about that. It's that it is a real intimate moment between those two characters, and not just about the aggression or the blood in that, and the copious amounts of blood in that. So yeah, dual protagonist can be a great tool for allowing deeper character exploration within an interesting structure. So it's just about balancing the narrative weight and basically doing all those things that I just said, and it's easy. There you go. You've done it. Well done. So that's the tip for this week. Let us know what you think. If it's something that you've done in your stories, drop us a email or join our Discord and chat with us there. That's the tip for this episode. Tazziii, let's check in with our guest.
So, Vic, do you want to let us know if you've got any interesting news or projects you want to share with us, and let people know where they can connect with you online?
Yeah, I mean, personally, not much, although I have been doing some work with a company that your audience might really like, which is Udon Entertainment, and they publish Street Fighter comics, and amongst many more things. And I think that I would like to highlight is that for anyone that liked Street Fighter 6, which is everyone that actually played Street Fighter 6, it's getting a manga, and it's going to be a prequel manga, and it has Ken as the bigger story. It's a manga anthology, so you get a few characters in there, and that's ready to pre-order in pretty much all comic shop, and including the one I work at, Mega City Comics. So yeah, I just wanted to flag up for your audience that surely likes quite a bit of Street Fighter that this is coming out. And I've been doing some work with them for a while now. And if you guys have any questions about, where they can get Udon products, they can either contact me on my Instagram, which I'm sure the lovely people and mayamada will post somewhere. And yeah, just follow me on there. I'm always people that work in comics are kind of working on a lot of different things in comics usually. So if you just follow my personal Instagram, you'll definitely see all of this stuff.
Yeah, we can definitely include those links in the info. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Even though I'm not as positive as I used to be about the movies.
You balance us out.
Yes. And I will definitely see you for some other ones soon, and definitely for Superman in 2025.
Oh yeah, we'll make that happen. I will balance. I will do the negative
Yes.
on that. I'm good.
Yeah. But thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. We look forward to that. So yeah, thanks for joining. And if you enjoyed this episode of Story X Story, definitely make sure that you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a future episode, and you can hear us talk about Superman when we get to that. You can also give us a 5-star rating and review, because that helps us reach new listeners and fans of story discussions. Direct link sharing is also good as well. We are story creators in our own right, and you can discover our manga universe online. All titles are available at our online store, including the latest release, Sirius Through the Fog, and the soon-to-be the latest release, Origins against all odds. You can also join the Studio 77 Discord today and think about becoming a Studio 77 member to support the work that we do at mayamada and get access to different bits of video content, comic content, especially as we make the new one, and other things that we think of along the way. We also have our Do I Look Like a Gamer video game representation campaign, which is a yearly initiative for inclusion and diversity in the video games industry and wider culture. We have a bunch of plans in store. You can check out the photos from this year's campaign 40, which is on the website looklikeagamer.com. And also check out the website for ways to get involved, especially we've got some events and other things coming up for the remaining months of the year. And then we do it all again next year as well. So definitely check that out. As for the podcast, we release new episodes on Thursdays, and those include creator interviews, video game discussions, and deep dives into stories across pop culture. You can always give us a shout directly. Our email address is studio77@mayamada.com, and our website with links to subscribe is mayamada.com/storyxstory. So thank you for tuning in, and until next time, stay safe, and remember, we can give communism a chance, but never cocaine. Don't forget that. Take care, everyone.